Flashbacks.
You know, there's a couple of occasions where he probably should have been killed in battle, but wasn't.
Bloody oath. And then he breaks his hand as well, and that playing in the second semi against Sturt, South Adelaide side.
Correct.
It's quite incredible. And then they're worried about, obviously, the injuries he's had in the war, how that could affect then. It's just bloody amazing that he's then gone on the next year. It goes back. Hayden Bunton goes to Port. They rove together. He wins the Magarey medal with 45 votes, 17 votes ahead of a bloody legend in Doug Olds. I had the absolute privilege. Paynham had an Olds and Bold side in, and they roped in a few of us younger guys. I played a game where Doug was keeper, and I filtered slips, and he's telling me Nord stories. We're going to lose the game against Elizabeth. I've told this guy for Elizabeth, get your head down and get a knot out so you can go up next game. And he's gone, what do you care about me for, mate? I said, I don't give a stuff about you. I just want to listen to Doug Olds. So,
well, Dougie was a brilliant footballer, played interstate football as well for South Australia with Dad. And just probably the smallest wingman ever to play league football, but he was a ripper. Dad speaks very fondly of Doug Olds.
Great.
Very fondly.
So he's bolted in the Magarey medal, club best and fairest, captain South Australia against Victoria to a win on Adelaide Oval, voted best on ground. Bloody ridiculous, Quiddy.
He won the goal kicking in 45, if I'm not mistaken, as well. And so he's had another. I don't know how he does it. I don't know, and because I was so young, and you don't touch on it. You know, you never think of these things. I think and talk more about it now.
Yeah.
But in those days, he was just my father.
Yeah.
And he didn't talk about it, but he was. I think his record speaks for itself.
Go to the next year's the famous game, the draw in Victoria, and Quinny. I'll be honest, I love this story you tell about. Go for that. Go for it, Quinny.
Well, he captain coaches South Australia. On the MCG, and my dad was a very volatile person, and when he came back from the war, people say that he just didn't tolerate anyone. You know, that was it. There was, he'd done and seen a lot of things at war, and to play football was just a thing. So they're well down at half time, six goals, whatever. He lets them have it. He's captain coach. He lets them have it at half time, and there were some quite big names, and I won't mention who they were, but they were big names in football in those days. And he said, and apparently in his speech, he says, I don't give a bugger whether you want to come out at half-time, after half-time for the third quarter or not. I don't care. You can do what you like. You can pack your gear up and you can go home. But I'm going now out onto that ground, and I don't give a bugger whether any of you follow me, but I'm going. So apparently he walks out and gets out onto the oval, and apparently, as the story goes, has a look around behind him, and thankfully they all followed him out. And they finish up drawing with Victoria on the MCG. Goes back in after the game, congratulates them all on a victory, but he was rotten that they didn't win.
Yep.
Quite still agitated in the rooms, and in those days at the MCG, as most football clubs had, they had a doorman, which would sort of stand by the door and not sort of let people in or whatever. And Dad's just talking and whatever, and finished talking. So the doorman comes up to him, taps him on the shoulder. And says, Bob, there's a bloke at the door that wants to see you. He's very well dressed and speaks very well, and some of the comments would have been colourful to say, I don't give a bugger who it is or what he is, what's he wanting, la la la. Oh, he just wants to speak to you, Bob, and I could just see him and I won't swear, but I could just see him.
Fine.
Oh, gee, and so he walks out to the door, and there's this finely dressed gentleman, and the bloke said to him, "Oh, you don't recognise me, you don't know me, Quinn, do you?" And Dad said, "Yes, I do. I remember you. You're the doctor that operated on my leg on the Red Cross ship in Tobruk Harbour the night I got belted in the leg, and you saved my leg, and not only my leg but saved my life." And Dad recognised him, and that's as the story goes, that this doctor on this ship operated on Dad's leg, and Dad threatened him not to cut his leg off. And anyway, so the doctor said, "Yes, Quinn, that's me." And he said, I'm not a fan of football. As a matter of fact, I dislike Australian rules football, but I was reading the Herald this morning, and I saw the football teams, South Australia, Victoria, and I see this name, RB Quinn, captain coach of South Australia. And he said, my curiosity got the best of me. He said he wondered whether it was the same RB Quinn that I'd operated on in Tobruk Harbour. And so that's what's brought me down to this ground today to see if it was you. And it is. So, I'm so pleased that I did a good job, And Dad said, well, you better come in, Doc, and come in and have a beer with me, And so the doctor comes into the change rooms, and they're speaking, they're talking, and the doctor said, "Well, Quinn, how about you get up on that table and I have a look at my handiwork?" So there's the captain coach of South Australia on the trainer's table, and dropped his tweeds, dropped his football shorts, and he's playing attire underneath that, and there's a bloke looking at his right inner thigh and said, "Oh, I did a good job, didn't I, Quinn?" And Dad said to him, "Yes, you did, Doctor." And he said, "Now, if you don't mind, I'll pull my pants up and we'll go and enjoy a long neck." So they went off and they had a beer together, and that was the last time that Dad ever saw. I think his name was Dr. Rowan or some name like that. And this, that was the last time they shared a beer, and then the doctor left, and Dad tells that story, or told that story ad nauseum, when he
I love that.
Have people around. And yeah, it was a wonderful, that just goes to show that I don't know who looks after us upstairs or whether someone does or not, but they threw those two boys together in war, and the doctor saved my dad's leg and saved his life at the same time.
It's one of the all-time great footy stories, isn't it?
Love it.
Yeah,
transcends everything, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it does. It makes us feel very humble. The doctor, he didn't have to go, and he just couldn't believe that it was the same bloke, because that's how probably bad his leg was. He couldn't believe that he'd played football again.
I bet he was glad that he did go, though. I reckon that's it's just an awesome story.
Yeah.
Obviously I've heard you tell it numerous times, Quinny, and I love it.
Yeah. It's a story that people ask me all the time to tell that story, but there's so many others. I could go on forever about stories of that he told. And mind you, I was just a little boy when he'd tell these stories, and he'd be around a few blokes, and I'd had a few beers, and he said, "Oh, that reminds me, that at one stage in Tobruk there was something like 15 Australians guarding 4,000 Italian prisoners of war, and Dad was one of those people. His battalion had them all in a sand dune, like a valley of a sand dune in Tobruk, and there was like something like 4,000 or 3,500 Italian prisoners, 15 Australians on top of the sandhills, just looking after them, So just stories like that of what not just my dad, but those other people did, So
yeah.
Can we flesh them out a little bbit with some of those stories? I know you said
go
wherever
you like.
Yeah, I know you said there's plenty there, but can you share a couple more with us?
No, there's some that he the one when he was in New Guinea fighting. There was you must realise that when the boys came back from Tobruk, they didn't change their uniforms. So they had uniforms that were for desert warfare. And then when they got shipped back, repatriated and then shipped off to New Guinea, they still had the same uniforms. So they were fighting in New Guinea in uniforms that were used for the desert. But they were in a tropical place where it was raining and all of this. So the uniforms are all wrong anyway. So there was a particular night that they were out on patrol and contact, of course, with the Japanese, and laid down next to one another. And there was 3 or 4 of them next to one another. The bloke on my dad's left got a shot to the head, killed instantly. His mate, the other side of him, took a bullet, and then they got called to come back. So Dad dragged this bloke probably 30 or 40 metres back to safety. But either side of him, it could have been the end of him then, like there was a bloke killed on his left and this bloke took a wounding shot on his right, and they got out of it all right, and he dragged this bloke. So he's done it a couple of times with the bloke in Tobruk and then this bloke in. He just wouldn't leave people, so he, just things like that he wasn't readily. He would never tell these stories all the time, but there were times as a little boy, 13 or 14, inquisitive, sitting under a table, when they're all, and you'd hear these stories, and it was a pretty gruesome sort of a thing, and that's, I think he would never talk to us children. He would never tell us those stories. We always had to sneak under a table and listen to the stories, So,
well, it would have come out. The Quinns are synonymous. So after his final year's a player, and then he decides to go to the country, and he's the pub up there, and of course the Quinn family ends up coming back and being legendary at the Southwark Hotel, which you were involved in as well, Quinny.
Yep.
So I'm sure the stories came out there, but that side of your life, you speak fondly of your time at the Southwark, and
I do,
and that as well,
yep.
Quinny.
They used to the second 43rd used to come down the first Friday in every month and have a luncheon there. So in those days there were quite a few of them. So we'd have probably 25 to 30 second 43rd returned soldiers come into the Southwark, first Friday in every month, and Dad used to go and join them for lunch, and my brother and myself would, look after them and serve them, and they'd still be there at like 4 o'clock. And my brother and myself used to often say, "Well, I reckon they've killed more Germans here today than they did in the Second World War." But it was things like that, and blokes would wander up and they would tell me stories about my dad. He would never tell us, but that's where most of these stories come from.
And of course, naming it's the proud honour, and so it should be, that the Anzac Day medal is named the Bob Quinn Medal. I may have educated a couple of players along those years on how big an honour it was too. A couple may have needed a bit of educating, and I may have delivered that, Gregory.
Well done, thank you, Malcolm. I do appreciate that. We've had the boys that have won it are all terrific sort of sportsmen and very complimentary on the day. And again, I won't mention this guy's name, but I've had one phone call back on the Monday morning after he won it. After it's been in excess of 20 years, and I've had one phone call to say that he was honoured to win my dad's medal, but for the rest of them, they were fantastic on the day, and it gives us just great pride to be able to go there and give them dad's medal. We would have liked a Port Adelaide player to win it, but that'll never happen after this year, or next year or so if they go into the VFL. That opportunity won't come around again unless they have an exceptional year and they make the grand final. And hopefully, that's what our family wants to do, is hang that medal around the Port Magpie player. That'd be really something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was that something that the SANFL approached your family about?
Yeah, they did. I'm the youngest of the family, and I seem to cop all the stuff that happens. But yeah, they rang us, and it was an amazing day. And I don't fall off your chair, Malcolm, but I did get emotional again when this happened.
Oh no, so you should, mate.
And then I rang my sisters and I rang my brother, and we all just were just so grateful and so pleased that Dad was being recognised with this medal, and it's just fantastic. And the SANFL look after us so well on that day. They invite us to every game, and of course the Power invite us to ANZAC ceremony, to the President's lunch and the President's dinner and things like that. And it's just, they've been, the SANFL and Port Adelaide have just been absolutely magnificent to our family and to my father, and we appreciate it. And they do it really well. Love, hate, or whatever, Port Adelaide, but they do a fantastic job with their returned servicemen, and they make a fuss of my father every Anzac Day, which is wonderful.
No, I went to Alberton on Friday night, and Port spit before the game was very good. I'll always speak glowingly of Port Adelaide in that way, and obviously I don't speak glowingly of Port Adelaide in any other way, Quinny, but very huge respect, mate.
Generally, Port Adelaide do it very well, where they do look after, their past players and past servicemen as well. But I think that's one thing that a lot of clubs would love to emulate.
I'm sure, and as Dad's immediate family, there's just they make a fuss of him, and he wouldn't like it, but he's left it to us to pick up the pieces, and we really appreciate it. It's wonderful.
Righto, Quinny. Now let's go on to Greg Quinn, the cricketer, because you didn't.
Really,
I did notice you did play some reserves game for Port, but let's go to the cricketer. Yeah, I've got a lot of time for Greg Quinn as a cricketer, 199 A-grade games, so there's still time, Quinny. There's still time for that 200th.
Yes.
7 Charlie Walkers. Now, as I said, I didn't realise the family link, the ironic bit there, that the Charlie Walker trophy is who the A-grade District Keeper of the Year is named after. Greg has won that 7 times. The bar at East Torrens is named the Greg Quinn Bar as well. Yeah. So Greg is a legend at East Torrens.
Does that include a free drink every home game?
Well, the thing is, if you drink with me in the cricket season at that bar, you do get free drinks. Yeah, so you need to come and drink with me one day.
You're safe with me. You're safe with me in that regard.
No, but not so with me. Maybe I might be able to visit one day.
Yeah.
You can, both of you can. It's fine.
So, Quinny there, 7-time Charlie. Oh, look, I think you were very unlucky state-wise. There was a England game. I'm doing this totally off my head here, Quinny. Trying to remember there. That's correct, isn't it? You played a game.
No, I played a second 11 game.
Second 11 game. Right.
Yeah, and I got taken to Western Australia on standby for a Sheffield Shield game.
Right.
And the wicketkeeper, who was sick at the time, got well overnight. I was flown in on the Wednesday, I think. 4-day game. So I flew in on the Wednesday. It was 100 degrees in Perth. The current wicketkeeper was sick in bed. So I did training on the Wednesday, went to the ground on Thursday and took warm-ups and had a hit and had a catch. And that was the first day of the game. And then our state wicketkeeper felt better because there was a huge weather change. It went from 43 to about 22, and he felt a lot better. And so I was on the next flight Friday night back to Adelaide.
Jeez, you didn't do that well, though, Quinn. You should have slipped something into him there as well. Now, I'm just trying to work it out. Mike, who would that have been? Mike?
It was David Kelly.
It was Kells, right.
Yep. Yeah. So Kells had me covered with his batting and and he was a good player as well. But it was a little bit unfortunate. But anyway, that's as close as I got.
So Trevor Robertson was around as well during your
Towards just as I started, Trevor was just finishing. I played probably 2 years against Trevor. Don't ask me when I started or when I won those medals because I can't remember what I had for breakfast now.
But were you a bit unlucky there that did your batting cost you, Quinny, in that way? Why did you think?
I don't know. Probably. I batted everywhere at East Torrens from 1 to probably 8, and in one season I made 2 centuries in a season at East Torrens. Virtually one game in between I made a 30, so I made 100 and then a 30, then another 100 in 3 games, and I was sort of on top of it there. I opened the batting in those games, and my batting sort of was what sort of held me back a bit. But
you were a fighter. Certainly you value your wicket.
I was never a fluent player. I was never a fluent player. I was always sort of my job in those days was to open the batting and to take the shine off the ball. And if I nicked a few and got a few away, then and as those 2 games worked out, that I got away a little bit. And one against Teacher Gully and the other one against Glenelg, and the Glenelg one was good because I played against David Johnson, who was a really good bowler for Glenelg.
Yeah, wingman as well. Yep, good wingman as well.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, good league footballer. John
been involved down at Tasmanian cricket for a long time. Yeah.
Yep, correct.
So there too, in terms of, I'd love to see a couple of South Australian batsmen at the moment value their wicket as much as you did, Quinny.
We both would, mate.
Yes. So in terms of that too, you credit, how old was your last A-grade district game were you then, Greg?
38. I was 38.
Okay, but you have kept playing. Now, I reckon, how old were you where you kept on your birthday for Para Hills? I reckon it was a Sunday 2020 game down at Unley. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah. So I played. I played at East Torrens, and I played 5 years in B grade, 5 in C grade, 2.5 in D grade, and then I went and worked. And then I didn't play for quite a while, but then I got the Para Hills job, and I was 63, I reckon,
and
when I was
still
playing.
Kept bloody well, Pete.
I played A1 when I was 63, nearly 64 probably, and so then I sort of. It's because I think I like the game. I finished playing football when I was 26.
You love the game. Don't bullshit you like the game. Yeah,
but it's a tough position no matter when you're playing it.
He's a gun keeper too, trust me.
I was. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I enjoy the thing that I probably got from my father was he enjoyed the people that he played his sport with, and I think it rubs off. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree when those things happen, and I thoroughly enjoyed my time at East Torrens, and I was so proud to be able to play for that club for so long, probably in excess of 27 years. I think I played at East Torrens, and I played a little bit at Goodwood in LO5.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
Then I went back to Para Hills, and I've been at Para Hills now for 10 years, and just got my life membership at Para Hills last year. So that's a great honour for me just to have life membership of East Torrens and Para Hills. It means a great deal to me, those 2 clubs.
And was your father involved in your cricket a little bit? I'm sure he wanted you to play football, but
he was. Him and Mum used to come when I was playing cricket for East Torrens. Dad was a big golfer, so he played golf on Saturday mornings. So they'd hit off at Sparrows Far at 6 o'clock, and he always finished and then come back home and pick up Mum, and they'd bring their lunch, and they'd always they both followed my cricket. Every game I played, every Saturday they were there, and Dad loved cricket. He wasn't a bad cricketer himself. He played a little bit in Kadena as an older guy. He was all right, Dad. He was a bit of a wicket keeper and a bit of a batter, and he wasn't a bad cricketer. But I thankfully, and I reminded him a couple of times that He never played district cricket where I had, and he said, well, how many league games of league football have you played? And I said, well, not many, Dad, so we won't go there, But, we always, he was a fantastic supporter of my sport. He, at the age, like I was probably 24, 25, and I was playing for Salisbury North in Division 2, SANFL, and we lived at Tea Tree Gully, and he used to come and watch me play football as well, and he was on to me about being fit and running, and, you got to be, because you're small, you've got to be a fittest bloke out there. And he used to make me, even at the age of 25 and 26, so we lived at Tea Tree Gully, not far from the Tea Tree Gully Golf Club, so he'd make me come out of cricket season. He said, you've got to catch up. So his regime was for me to run from Tea Tree Gully to Salisbury North for football training. So I'd run from Tea Tree Gully to Salisbury North to go to football training. And that was the way he ran us. So.
Hang on, he's getting you to run from Tea Tree Gully to Salisbury, yet he just had to row across the river.
Row across the river.
How does that work?
Bit of Glenn and Leighton Hewitt in that one, mate.
Yeah. But he also used to do it in cricket season. So when I come out of football, and in those days I was in the state squad, so I'd run from Tea Tree Gully to Adelaide Oval for cricket training. But that's the way he worked it, and he said, I'll come pick you up and bring me home. But he wanted me to be, fit and all that, and that was just his regime. So I was a good runner in those days, boys. So.
Yeah, no, I don't think too much has changed there, Quinny. You're certainly one of the more fitter people of your age and all that, well and truly. Yeah. Quinny, in terms there, where do you see cricket at in general at the moment? I think you and I are probably not lovers of the 2020 game overall. And
no.
Where do you see cricket as a whole at?
Well, I get a little bit disappointed with our performances in South Australia. I was fielding coach for the Redbacks for 4.5 years, and there was a lot of, in those days, there was a big under-19 championship carnival that used to run for 2 weeks, and over that period of time, we produced a lot of first-class cricketers that would come out of that carnival, and those boys played 90 overs a day, 2-day games for a fortnight. I was away for a fortnight with those boys for like 9 years. I did that, and guys like Graham Manu and Tate, Cullen, Ferguson, Cosgrove, Ryan Harris, both Borges boys. And we had a lot of all those boys, Daniel Harris.
That's pretty strong there.
And we had a lot of boys that played in that under-19 carnival that all went through and played Sheffield Shield and first-class cricket, and some of them for Australia. I just think that they've dropped the ball a bit there where they need to harden those boys up a little bit and get them playing that carnival again over 2 weeks, where these days I think it runs over 4 days, and they might play 2 one-day 50-over games and the rest are T20s. Yeah. And that disappoints me a bit. And it also disappoints me that obviously where South Australia have been for the last 10 or 12 years is disappointing. There are some very, very talented players in our state, but it's very young. They're all really young, and the retention of players that want to play cricket is very difficult these days, because no one wants to play, and train three times a week just to play grade cricket and then play Saturdays and Sundays. So it's virtually a 5-day week of cricket, and they don't seem to want to do it these days.
Oh, look, and let's be blatantly honest. Without the explosion of Indian, Sri Lankan and Pakistani cricketers playing here, there would be a lot of clubs have gone under. And I'll include Payneham in that, in terms of clubs around the traps.
And even the Root Academy and the Lehman Academy. Lehman Academy bring 23, 24 players out here every summer, and have done for nearly 8 or 9 years. And the thing that got me in the last year is that we have 23, 24 English cricketers, and some of them have got contracts for county teams back there.
Yep.
And yet the wisdom of our administrators at the SACA decide to pick an under-19 team to play in the district competition.
Yeah.
Why they're not playing the Lehman Academy boys in that competition is beyond me.
Oh,
they're here. The players are here.
Yeah.
Why do we have to take the best under-19 cricketers away from their grade club to play against their own grade club at some stage?
Oh, crazy.
Where we've got 20 odd Englishmen that are capable. And the bloke said to me one day, he said, "Oh, what if they win it? What if they win the premiership?"
Great.
Well,
so good. What? Yeah.
Then maybe our players have to be better.
Yeah.
So
this year. And let's go through that with a couple there. Matchett last year, young Matchett, played in the Kensington Premiership side. He was the kid, batting 7 or 8, whatever. Yep. Kensington, the next year, as happens, Lou Brown retires. They lose Ross and Dalton.
Yeah,
he would have gone up and batted 4 or 5, which is what you want from the kid as the development.
Exactly.
No, he ends up having to captain that second 11, the side in the second bit, having to captain it, and also having to captain it under the rules of whether you restricted bowling
correct
numbers under the kids' ruling. So there was one game they had him 3 for 15, and he had to take the kid off who had 3 for 5. Oh,
yeah, and it's ridiculous. And some of those boys that played in that second division team would have played against their own clubs, Malcolm.
Yeah,
and they shouldn't be exposed to that. And they got their bum wiped a couple of times this year, but they also won a couple of games.
Yeah,
but. Those boys would have been served better about playing for their clubs and not just trying to survive in that team.
Yeah, and that's what they were trying to survive. Is the
trying to do. Trying not to lose. Let's not lose. Whoever coached them, I can't remember who coached them, but I would think they would say to those boys, "Let's try not to lose," instead of, "Well, hang on, I should be playing for Kensington Northern Districts, but I know I've got to play against them," which is wrong. And I just think that. The Lehman Academy, and they're fantastic cricketers, because I worked for them for 3 years with their wicket keepers, and they're terrific players. And yes, they might win it, in Division 2 or anything. But hey, let's play them, and they're always looking for games. And, they
are the kids who are looking to play cricket.
Yeah,
they'd be happy playing every Saturday and Sunday. So why not make use of that? Yeah,
with each other and playing in the T20 competitions and things like that. And yourself, boys, that when you play against people that are good players, your game actually gets better as well. You get better at it because you have to if you want to hold your spot. So.
And I think Quinn, you and I think, are very much on the same page here too, Greg.
It was an experiment this year with the change. Do we see it potentially being reverted back or tweaked again?
Did the Lehman thing even get mentioned though and suggested?
I got asked. I got asked by a board member to speak about grade cricket, and again, I won't mention his name because he's a friend of mine, and we spoke, and I said, "Why aren't you looking at doing this?" And no, we've already made our mind up. I said, "Well, unmake your mind."
Yeah, bloody oath.
Unmake it, and revert back. And I think, boys, because they've made that decision, that it would look pretty stupid if they didn't do it again this year and have 2 divisions, which I don't know. What are a classic example of East Torrens this year? I would think there'd be some boys leave East Torrens this year because they want to play in Division 1, which is it's a worry for my club, and I hope it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen.
To Sturt's credit, this year the guys stuck together, and
they stayed, and it paid off.
Yeah, so hopefully,
and they were always going to win it because they're a very strong team and a very strong, committed administrator. They do a good job. So, but I don't think they'll change it because I think they'd be made to look stupid if they did. So
if they actually admitted
but at least you've tried something new. But if it's not the right way, isn't it better to try something a little bit different and see if you can find and get it right?
Yeah, I can see that, Pete, because we need to do that. We need to. I'm tired, sick and tired. The last time I coached on the coaching panel at the Redbacks was quite a while ago now, a long time ago. And I was fielding coach, and Peter Muggleton was bowling coach, and Mark Sorrell was head coach. We ran third in every competition. Now, I reckon they'd probably take that now, wouldn't they?
Bloody hell, we would.
Oh, yeah. I know the man sitting across from me would be jumping for joy.
We're still in contention that last couple of games.
Yeah, and the three of us got the sack the next year for all three of us had never played first-class cricket, but we got asked to leave because we'd run third, and third. I reckon they'd take it now, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
So,
and also, Quinny, again, I think it's an area I'm very strong on, and I'm sure you're the same in terms of, if we're going to go down, I want to go down playing South Australian kids, not recruit these fringe players from interstate. There was nothing against young Cardner as a person or anything, but it was farcical, the opportunities he got where Kelvin Smith wasn't playing.
Yeah.
And Kelvin's not in the squad. Yes, he didn't make enough runs to think. Same thing with Bobby Davis, but geez, their numbers at grade level demand more opportunities than both of them have received.
And they're older guys, and I think patience is a virtue, and this game, when you coach or when you play cricket, it demands being patient, and when you select, whether it's for Payneham or whether it's for Para Hills or whether it's for East Torrens or West Torrens or for the Redbacks, patience is a virtue, and people don't seem to have that anymore. The old scenario, give him 3 games and see how he goes. No. How about we stick fat with them for a little while?
Yeah, exactly.
And just see what these boys can produce.
Which is exactly what should have happened with Kelvin this year. They should have given him the year and gone with it. And now, too, one thing I don't think I've ever told you this, Quinny. So it was actually on the week of the tragic passing of Phil Hughes, which you obviously knew Phil with.
Yep.
So, and Payneham Para Hills happened to play Pembroke that weekend, of which I was coaching and all that.
Yep.
And I watched Para Hills, you guys do your warm-up, and I'm sitting there as coach going, I would love to do this to the Pembroke guys, but if I tried to do that,
that was a really hot day.
Yeah, it was, but I know if I tried to do that, I reckon I would have been lucky to have 2 players the next week.
Yeah,
and that, and a bit of, Quinny obviously held a bit more sway than I did and all that, but
your coach.
I would have loved to have been that hard, but I just knew I couldn't be. But
no. So. It's part of it, and it's a patience thing, and my philosophy with coaching, and it's just my philosophy is that as a coach I coached East Torrens and also coached Para Hills, and you as a coach you have to have a relationship with the best player in your club, and you have to have a relationship with the worst player and everyone in between.
Yep.
And it just doesn't seem to be fitting our Redback system at the moment, where there just doesn't seem to be that continuity and people not knowing where they go, where they belong, what should they be doing, how they could play, and planning and things like that. And I tried that at Para Hills, and it's worked. We do small things like, before we go to the cricket, we put our polo top on at our own house, and we travel to the ground in our polo top. Now that does nothing for the game, but before you leave your house, you're putting that top on, and you're thinking about playing for Para Hills.
Yeah.
And it happens before you even get anywhere. Sometimes we play Ranella, but the trip down to Ranella, you're still wearing your Para Hills top, and it just doesn't seem to be that way where people just seem to turn up how they want to turn up, and there's no structure, and you're not allowed to talk harsh to them. You're not allowed to tell them what to do.
It is hard. Yeah,
you got to be careful. You can't, coaches are walking around on eggshells because everyone's so fragile. You've got to be careful, and to be quite honest with you, I'm not happy that I'm not I am happy that I'm not coaching now, because everyone's so fragile. The phone calls I used to get Friday nights, and one bloke, just a quick one. One bloke rang me early in the season, said, I can't play this week, Greg. And I said, oh, why is that? He said, it's my grandma's birthday. And, I said, oh, that's okay. That's fine. Well, sure enough, after Christmas, the Christmas break, a couple of games in, he said, I can't play. I said, oh, why is that? Oh, it's my grandma's birthday. I said, Jesus, she must be 150. She's had 2 birthdays in 1 year, so they don't realise that they tell lies to you that coaches.
You remember it, bloody oath.
Remember.
Oh, yeah.
Now, can we get back to your playing career a little bit? Some representation overseas?
Just as over 60s cricketer, yeah. I've played over 60s for Australia. I've toured England twice. Had 3 series against them at home. I captained for a New Zealand tour away, and I've represented my state as over 60s cricketer as well. So yeah, that's been a great joy for me. I've loved it. And
so who are the other South Australians involved there? So it was Peter Judd.
Yeah, that's towards the end of it.
Yeah,
Malcolm, but
Fav.
Right at the Fav's play. I've played a couple of games with Fav, but early days, like 10 years ago when I first turned 60, I was the only one for probably 5 years, I reckon.
I was trying to work that out in my head then.
Yeah. But no, this given me a lot of joy, and made some fantastic friends, and we won the Ashes in 10 years ago, so 04, 05, and that was fantastic, and we haven't got close to them since. So I've now moved up to over 70.
Yes.
That gives me the willies also, but that's what it is. But no, I do enjoy it, and I have loved playing for South Australia and representing my country as an over 60s cricketer, which it's a bit of an achievement, I suppose.
What was it like getting the baggy green? I know it's not the true baggy green, but it is a baggy green.
It was great. It was fantastic. Unfortunately, we have to pay for our own accommodation, airfares, and everything, and the hat comes with it. But I still enjoy. I slip it on sometimes at home. I haven't worn it for a while because I haven't been that healthy for the last 2.5 years, but I'm fine now, and I slip it on sometimes when no one's looking. Just have a look in the mirror.
Why not?
Some places you could wear that, or it could be more than appropriate, Quinny. Okay, best players played with and against, Quinny.
Oh man, that's Peter. Malcolm, you're doing it. You're killing me here.
You can give us two or three.
You did play.
Okay, so guys I played with at East Torrens.
Yeah.
Joe Scuderi was absolutely sensational. We had two boys that were very, very young when they first started and became great East Torrens cricketers, Craig Bradbrook, Graham Yates.
Yep.
I also played with Andrew Sincock.
Evil,
Evil, and also David Hooks. So, there's nearly a full team there. And Neil Plummer was a very, very good
district cricketer,
Yeah, fantastic cricketer. Guys like Ashley Woodcock and those blokes I played with also. They're the best ones I've played against. I reckon Orch from
James Orchard.
From James Orchard from Sturt is one that
hard hitter.
He was a magnificent cover drive.
Yeah.
Who else was there? I also played against Nason that coached
Jack Nason, yep.
Jack Nason that coached Woodville.
Yep.
And he was just
lovely bloke
tenacious,
too, Nace.
Tenacious. He's one of my favourites. Stevie Gentle, excellent wicket keeper that I played against. Steamer Wilson was just one of the quickest bowlers that I've played. Wayne Pryor, scary, very scary.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, Darren Lehman, Wayne Bradbrook. It's funny how they're all Salisbury players, isn't it? You know, that was a nightmare playing against them. But I've been really fortunate in playing with and against some of the all-time greats.
Barry Corsby played the best shot I've seen in district cricket. It was on number 2, and he flicked it over the slips, the shot over the slips, and it smashed straight through a windscreen in the car park at number 2.
Yeah, no, he was a good player, of course, and they the year, I think
that was the year where he made the 1,000 runs. Yeah,
someone told me that year that I think Mark Terrell might have told me that in their A grade that year there were 20 centuries in the season in the A grade. Like, really, good luck trying to beat them.
Yeah,
but no, there's been some terrific players and I've enjoyed it all and still enjoying it and look forward to Saturday afternoons. It's great.
Before we let you go, we'll get you out of here on this one. Obviously, your dad, Bob, would have talked about some of his top 3 or 4 players that he played against and played with. Can you shed a little bit of light on that before we let you go tonight?
Well, he was a great admirer of Fred Fanning, the big full forward for Melbourne. And he just admired Fred because Fred was in front of his time, the big guy that was mobile, and I think he still holds a record to today, 18 goals.
Yep.
So he was one of Dad's favourites. He wasn't one of Dad's favourites, but he respected him. Lou Richards, after the war, they locked horns in that drawn game. He had respect for him. He didn't like him all that much, but he had respect for him. Lou Roberts, who played centre for Port Adelaide, Dad said that he was just a fantastic centreman. And Lou was one of the first people to cut the tops off his football boots and cut them off and wore them as shoes. There's one for you. He was the one. He said you might as well be comfortable as uncomfortable, and he cut the top off his. Lou Roberts, his name was, and he was. Dad said he was a fantastic centreman for South Australia and Port Adelaide. Of course, Alan Revel, Big Bob, they formed that illustrious combination. But he respected them all. He had good duels with the great Jack Odie and things like that as Rovers. And he has Ken Farmer. You mentioned him quite a bit. So Dad was sort of on the end of end of it. Yeah, Dad was finishing. Ken was sort of around the mark, but Dad used to go and watch him play. So he was a fan of Ken Farmer's. Oh. So there's some names that some of your listeners may remember. Yeah.
Hey, Quinny, greatly appreciated, mate. Look forward to catching up and that shortly. And love the stories about Bob. You and I are pretty much on the same wavelength on cricket. We may discuss that at various times as well. I don't think we often disagree, by the way.
But no, thank you for your time.
Greatly appreciated, Quinny.
Explaining it, that's fantastic.
No problems, boys. And on behalf of the Quinn family, and we do thank you for the interest you show in our family, and it's been a pleasure talking to both of you tonight.
And pretty big achievement. You've played so much cricket with Mitch as well, too. There's not too many fathers and sons can probably claim that to that extent as well, Quinny.
I don't think he probably enjoyed it as much as I did.
Nah, maybe not. That's right.
It's for another day.
Yeah. Another day. Yep.
Hey, greatly appreciated, mate. Thanks, Quinny.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
Catch you. Bye-bye.
Bye.